first and foremost, I'm a franchisee of Which Wich. So the group that I'm a part of, we own 16 Which Wich locations, or I like to say 14 locations in 2 nonprofit organizations that we run. But we have 16 restaurants. So I spend about 2/3 of my time in operations, in both a training and an operations capacity, in trying to build a high-performing company. I spend the other third of my time speaking, doing things like this, talking to groups at franchise conventions, written a couple books, and just for you all, that's kind of a forthcoming in 2015. If any of you all are Coca-Cola customers, they have a whole white paper series coming out on recruiting that you'll see as I kind of get into this. But I've done some work for Coca-Cola that hopefully the industry can benefit from here shortly. But I'm going to talk to you both as a person that's been in charge for 20 years, as a trainer, been in your role, and also as an operator where you're dealing with the COO, the CEO, and talk to you from that perspective so you can professionally become a better trainer. I think as I always tell, especially new people to the training industry and certainly to managers, this GMC has an ad and it says, amateurs practice until they get it right. Pros practice until they can't get it wrong. And I think I know early in my career I was guilty of just doing enough training till people got it right. We would go to a new store opening or a new hotel opening or get a new MIT or a new employee. We trained them just enough so they got it right, but we really didn't train them so well that they couldn't get them wrong. And as I've really kind of stepped back into the operations role and running the business, we really have to be so good in ops and training that our employees are so good they can't get it wrong. And so when I really kind of decided to get back into the operation side of the business, I really studied and had the opportunity to consult with this company that you see on the screen here, PALS. This is actually their building. It's an 1,100 square foot drive-through only chain. There's about 26 of these restaurants in far eastern part of Tennessee and the far western part of Virginia. And these guys run 200 cars an hour through a single lane drive-through. They have 54% hourly turnover, 2% management turnover. They make one mistake every 3,600 orders. And so when you really think about who has the best training program in America, and I was asked that question in 2005 for QSR Magazine, and we wrote an article about this company. The way I view a training program, the effectiveness of it, is how good the guest experience is. That's how I would judge how good my training program is. And this group here, PALS, they actually have a Business Excellence Institute, palsbei.com. You can go there and study what they do. But this is how we've approached our business, and I hope that this can benefit you as a trainer. So I'm going to walk you through a couple things here today. Again, the session's called Hire, Train, Reward, Retain, but I'm going to step up and outside of that a little bit as a trainer to hopefully give you some skills to understand how you can really manage your bosses, manage up the ladder through the operations, through the HR department, and become invaluable across all the silos that are existing in your operation to become the go-to person to help solve the problems that your company's facing. So I'll start with systems and strategy. At a high level, I'm going to use an example of my company. Our operating objective is make the guest say wow. Very simple, make the guest say wow. So as a person that is training and operating, you need to really understand where is the strategic direction of your company going? Where's the focus of your company going? So using the simple example of my company, make the guest say wow, we've done some research with SMG, the company that measures our guest service. And as an example, if you see here, if a customer gives us a 5, they're highly satisfied. On the friendliness of the team member, 91% of them give us a 5 on the taste of the food. If the customer gives us a 4, which means they're satisfied on the friendliness of the team member, they give us 35% of them give us a 5 on the taste of the food. And so as we, from a training perspective, we're looking at how can we achieve our objective of making the guests say, wow, we use this data. And we shared this with our managers, and we talked to them about the difference between a 4 and a 5. 4 is not good enough to drive our business. So strategically, we've made an initiative to really work on making the guests say wow. So I'll kind of interweave our journey through this so you can see how we've illustrated our success through training to move forward with us strategically. In this case, we want to make the guests say, wow. The finding in this slide here is that we have got to get our employees and team members to be delivering a 5 for friendliness to truly drive our business, because as you can see on the screen, the customers give us a 5 for the taste of the food 91% of the time when they give us a 5 on friendliness. Friendliness is a strategic advantage that we have, so that needs to be interwoven into all of our training strategies. The next step, once we understand the strategy and where we're going, and you can find that out from your company, obviously, is as a training professional, I think you can take some time to build systems. One of the things I've learned over time is systems help ordinary people deliver extraordinary results. I do some work with John DeJulius of the DeJulius Group, and it was interesting. He put it best. He says, Disney can't hire 50,000 of the best, most friendly, cheery people that are out there, but they can build systems to take average, friendly people and get them to deliver above average friendliness. And so as a trainer, focus on building systems. And I'll give you a simple example. We saw data in our company. If you've ever been to a witch, it's a little confusing. You have to fill out this bag like you see on the screen. If you've never been there before, it's very confusing. So we put a system into place because our data showed to us that first-time guests were having a poor experience relative to the other guests. We put a system in place. A little one sticker goes on the bag. And then we trained each position. What does the host do? What does the cashier do? What does the employees working the line do? When you see this one sticker on your bag, as an example, the cashier knows automatically the guest has never been there before, welcome them as a first-time guest. You automatically give them a free large collector's cup that they can bring back for discounted refills. You automatically enroll them in the loyalty program. You double-check their order to make sure that it's going to be 100% right. So we put a system into place. Same people executing the system, and our service levels for first-time guests went up 8 percentage points because we put a system into place and trained people to the system, and the outcome was our service results were improved significantly. You see this even in like a Bubba Gump's seafood company. They have a license plate on the table that says stop Forrest stop or run Forrest run. And they actually engage the guest to help them in this. So if you need help as a guest sitting in at a Bubba Gump's, you just flip the red sign over and it says stop Forrest stop, and all their employees know the system is if you see a red license plate, whether it's your section or not, you stop and help the guest. So do take some time as a training professional to think about how can I put systems into place and train those systems, because the end result will be your service will improve, or your food costs, or your sales, whatever the focus is strategically that you're trying to get the outcome to improve on. Build systems. Work with your operations team to build systems that will make your training significantly more effective. So the first part is really to work through systems. As you put those into place, as an example, here's one of the things that we've done for our operations team. We call it getting ripped, not getting drunk, Las Vegas kind of getting ripped, but ripped like as in personal trainer, making ourselves better. It stands for Rapid Improvement Program. So as the trainer in TJ looked at the operations side of TJ and said, look, we know what we need to work on, but we're not seeing this happen quick enough. We built a simple system, and this is actually one of our operations people came up with this, and they have to create, our managers every week have to create a rapid improvement program. So as an example, somebody looks at their guest survey data. They're an 84 customer service index, which is pretty darn good. But here's what they're going to focus on this week. We've got to get faster. We've got to go out and do checkbacks in the dining room. We've got to keep clean. Those, when they look at the data from their specific operation, the training tactics this week in that operation around service are on those 3 things. And you'll see later in the presentation how we built tools to give the managers a toolbox to help them get ripped. If you look at this kind of on the cost side, the month-to-date cost of sales are 33%. They're 0.2 under their ideal. They're doing well. But here's what they're going to focus in on. And what this allows the outcome of our ultimate guest service or customer service to be, that's how I'm judging training. As a trainer, we understand where we are at a strategic level. We then built a system similar to the first-timer program, and then we built a system for our managers. So when they analyze the data, no different than a personal trainer would be looking at what you eat, what you weigh, how you exercise, how much you sleep. They analyze the data, and then they diagnose a system for you to do. That's what we're doing here. We're putting a system into place for our managers that are out there every day, whether they're at the hotel property or out on the front line in the restaurant, with very simple tactics to move the needle a little bit week to week. And if you keep doing this over time, you'll see that your customer service scores go up, your sales go up, your cost of sales, your labor go down, and that's really kind of where we have these pieces put together. So we built a system as a trainer. We built a system for the operator to help improve, because training is operations and operations is training. So we put systems into place to help them get ripped. Put that into place first. I think a lot of people want to have the age-old argument, is hiring more important than training? Is training more important than hiring? And I think at the end of the day, you kind of looked at a 51-49. The culture and the training are probably that 51%. But I do think one of the large frustrations that trainers have is we spend all this time building these great programs. We spend all this time rolling out all this stuff to the field, and then they struggle with hiring, and then they blame the training, or I can't hire good people, and you've done all this work for training. And we know that if we don't hire good people, the training is not going to be effective, nor will the rewards be, and ultimately we're not going to retain the right kind of people. So my second tip to you, once you really get in the brains of your higher-ups, where you're going strategically and building some systems, is to work with HR, work with your field, work with your operations people on truly teaching people how to hire better. Because what I see is most managers do not know how to interview. They ask if they can close tonight in the interview. Person says yes, they get hired. They try and run them through this awesome training program that you've created, and then they quit. And if you think about it, if this person walks into your hotel, walks into your restaurant today, says, hi, are you guys hiring? I would bet most managers will probably hire her in a heartbeat, throw a bunch of softball interview questions to her. She would tell them what they want to hear. They'll reinforce their feeling in their gut. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, you have this. What the heck happened? That's not the girl we hired. She's off going to another place, or she's not performing at the level that we thought she would be. So I really think, and I'll just give you a couple of tactics here on how to help train people to hire. There's kind of four things. I think the first three for sure are musts. You need to teach in your hiring of when you teach managers how to hire, teach them how to manpower plan, teach them how to effectively source, and teach them how to interview to truly get out the behaviors that we're looking for and get beyond the gut feel. And that last piece is really the assessment. I have a question mark because you may or may not be able to sell that into your organization, but I'm a huge proponent that the average manager does not know how to interview effectively, and assessments can be a valuable tool. From a training perspective, the better the hire, the more effective my training program will be. The more effective the hire, the more effective any reward or retention incentive program we put in will be. So teach people how to hire better. Simple sample. We teach our managers every month to do a manpower plan. This is really just a proactive look. They go through and they grade all of their employees, A, B, or C, and are they a potential turnover? Typically, most C's are a potential turnover unless they're brand new, because a lot of new employees are a C when they start, but they kind of work up the ladder as they improve. We're forcing our managers to proactively look at where we need to be staffed, where we have upcoming holes, i.e. everybody's going back to college in August, so I'm going to have to hire some more people as I move into the fall. Teach managers, and really the multi-unit people even for the manager level, how to do manpower plans so they can proactively look at their staffing needs, schedule their training, budget their training in versus being reactive all the time. So teach them how to do a manpower plan. If you guys need any of these things, just shoot me an email. It's just tj@whichwich.com, and I'll get these to you if you need them. The next thing is, I think as a trainer, you can really help, and this is where CHART is such a great organization, because we all share so much information when we're at conferences and in between on Ask My Peers and on the website, et cetera. Help your HR department, help your managers source better. as an example, we just started using social recruiting as a strategy, and it's amazing just to see how many people are finding us as an employer that really didn't even know we were hiring or didn't even know about us at all. We're using a site like tweetmyjobs.com that helps you kind of get into the social media circles to hire, because we all know the great people are already working. And so we either need to go to their place of employment and direct recruit them, or we need to be where they are when they're not working. And all too often, almost everybody's on the internet, Facebook, Twitter, social media, and this is a way that, again, I think you can become more valuable to your organization if you can bring ideas like this to help solve operational and HR problems. I think you can also help them create ads that are a little more effective in getting the right kind of person. So instead of saying help wanted, you can help them create some more specific ads to find people like this one here. Now, obviously, we're not hiring computer engineers, but this is part of the assessment. They can't even figure out how to get a hold of you unless they need to figure out this equation to solve for the phone number to call. So these are the kind of things you can help your company put ads together, like this one. Just make them a little more fun, make them a little more relevant. Help your group figure out what we can do to make our brand more attractive as an employer. So help your company with sourcing. Again, now hiring bus drivers versus make $16.25 an hour doing what most parents do for free. One ad gets a lot of attention, one ad doesn't. The other piece, and I think probably the most valuable piece you can do if your company does not have this in place today, is really train people how to interview. And I am talking a different interview philosophy from before. We could spend hours on this, but really it's understand what your company's DNA is from a cultural standpoint. And then secondarily, bring that into what position. What DNA does a great host have? What DNA does a great cashier have? What DNA does a front desk agent at a hotel have? What are those traits? Get all that DNA listed out, and then ask questions to find those behaviors. And if you look at the slide on the right, the picture on the right, if you think about how pro football teams recruit football players, it's entirely different than how most restaurants and hotels hire people. Typically, we put up a now hiring banner, we put up an ad, people come in and apply. We ask them a bunch of hypothetical questions. What would you do if? What would you do if this happened? What would you do if that happened? They give us a bunch of hypothetical answers, and lo and behold, we have Britney Spears hired in no time. If you think about how football teams select people, they put them through tryouts. They know exactly what the skills are for a linebacker, for a quarterback, for a defensive end, because they're all slightly different. And then they test their employees, or they test their applicants to see if they got what it takes to become employees. So as you build your interviewing platform, I encourage everybody to do role plays or mystery shop the applicant when they're out somewhere else. So I think, again, this could be a long, long discussion of how to train your operators to interview better. But suffice it to say that we've got to get the mentality of being a scout, of getting into tryouts versus just interviews. So again, think about how you could look at your training that is focused on interviewing right now and help your managers interview better, because if they hire a better person, your training will become more effective. Assessments kind of fit right in. They get rid of the gut feel. There's plenty of them out there: Snag a Job, People Matter, Job App Plus. There's tons of these companies out there. This may be another idea similar to social recruiting that you could bring into your organization to help them hire better. Because again, if we hire better, add that to your training program that you have, that's kind of the 1-2 punch that will help them have a good chance of success with part 3, which is really the culture that's within the restaurant or within the hotel. So ultimately, I always like to say this, training is a little less important than hiring, because you can't fix stupid. Training can't fix stupid. If we have a bad hire, it's real difficult, even with a great training program, to fix a bad hire. So again, think about that kind of 51-49. We need to probably have a little bit more focus to be an effective trainer on training your managers and your multi-unit managers how to hire better. Now, when we get into training, which is kind of what you do each and every day, I'm going to take a little different approach. I'm going to take the operator's approach from this, and this is, I'm not going to talk at this point about new hire training. I'm not going to talk about new unit or new property training. I want to talk about how you can approach your job a little better or a little differently to become that personal trainer, that invaluable resource in your organization that is assessing, man, here's where we want to go strategically. Here's the systems that we have in place. What can we do to reinforce these things every day? And you have to kind of think back for just a second to this rapid improvement program idea, because I want to show you how this can all fit together. Thomas Jefferson said, long ago all men are created equal, and I think we, way back in the day, kind of created a one-size-fits-all training program. But Thomas Jefferson also said, there's nothing more unequal than the equal treatment of unequal people. That's a lot more difficult than all men are created equal. There's nothing more unequal than the equal treatment of unequal people. And really what that means is we have to have a blended learning solution. And we all know that. That's nothing new, even though he said it 240 years ago. Here's a few ideas that you can put into place to help your managers improve their business, ultimately change the guest experience, which really then shows you how effective your training program is. One, especially if you're in a small company, there are so many things on YouTube nowadays that you could literally build a video library of short 30-second to 2-minute video clips, whether you need to train beer knowledge, wine knowledge, liquor knowledge, food safety, leadership, customer service, you name it. There is so much stuff on YouTube that you can create links or reference material for your managers to use to help them train better at no cost to you. So for instance, if you want to train wine knowledge, if you're in a full service restaurant, you could put together just QR codes or links to Chardonnays or Cabernets or Merlots. So instead of cramming everything down somebody's throat initially, we can give it to them in small doses. They can have little QR codes right by their POS station or right by the bar to refer to this when they need it. But it doesn't cost you a dime. So to have that blended learning solution, if you don't have a budget to build videos, go to YouTube. They're all there. Almost every speaker has videos that you can see. They're great clips. These are also great for you to use as a trainer as part of the RIPT, Rapid Improvement Program, to feed to your managers to use for their pre-shift meetings every day. We all struggle trying to get some of our managers to do pre-shifts. If we have videos that we're feeding them every day, it helps them. It makes it easy. Everybody watch this video after you clock in, or watch this video on your phone, and let's talk about how it applies to our business. So think about where you can build this kick-ass training program with videos for nothing, and it really starts with YouTube. The next piece, and I learned this from pals, they use flashcards. I am talking elementary school, old people like me that learned how to multiply via flashcards. They use those because their philosophy is we need to be 100% right 100% of the time at 100% volume. And so what they're trying to do is that GMC act. We're going to practice so much that they can't get it wrong. Now, I have a 19-year-old son, and I showed him. He came to work for us. I built the flashcards that you see here on the left. We use these during the lulls. We use these during pre-shifts. And so we're quizzing everybody constantly because we want to be so good we can't get it wrong. So, of course, my 19-year-old son tells me I'm an old man and flashcards are so outdated, it's ridiculous. He actually found me a website that you can take the same Word document that I send to the printer to make my flashcards. I can import into an app called Flashcard Machine, and I'm sure there's other ones out there. And so people can just use these on their cell phone and take the quizzes online. So, again, low-tech, high-tech, doesn't matter. This is a tool you could put into your hands of your employees, put into the hands of your managers to constantly reinforce key behaviors that you want and drive your business forward. Simple training solutions that are out there. Communication, this is another tool I would strongly recommend. Again, if you can set up, GroupMe, all it is a group texting app. So I have all my managers on this, so I can instantly let them know of something that's going on. If we want to have a training focus for the day, a pre-shift topic, link to the video that we want them to watch, or use these flashcards. We can help communicate better, and I would bring this to your managers because they can then turn around and set up group texting through an app like this to communicate with their frontline employees. The point being, from a training perspective, it's more of a social training atmosphere. You could use this to get input on, hey, we just rolled this out, what do you think? And get feedback from a lot of frontline employees versus going through all the layers in your organization. So think about how you can leverage this generation's love of technology and love of texting to get feedback on your training program or push it out there to let them know what's going on. So that's kind of really more of a social training aspect of how you could add that tool to your tool belt to make you a more invaluable trainer. The other thing in this area is really to kind of look at how you can leverage what marketers do, which is QR codes, and use these in training. Managers love these because, again, think about my RIPT program. I've got to focus on, for instance, accuracy. Well, boom, pre-shift meeting today, everybody walk over to the workstation, click that QR code that says P3 accuracy, that's where you're working today. Watch the little 1-minute clip to get you solely focused in on how to make your orders 100% accurate in your station. So you think about all my employees. I got 6 employees working lunch today. They're going to 6 different stations. They watch the clip on accuracy today because my focus on my business this week is accuracy with the ultimate umbrella of trying to make the guests say, wow. I've given training tools to my managers via flashcards, via QR code links to videos to help support them to train every single day to get people so good they can't get it wrong. I'm going to drop down to rewards, and then we'll kind of wrap it up here and leave some time for questions toward the end. When you think about rewards and recognition, you may feel like it's out of your hands, and you've always heard, why do we want to, if we train people great, they're all going to quit. And Richard Branson, the president of Virgin Brands, said, train people well enough so they can leave, but treat them well enough so they don't. This is a skill that I think you can train your managers. This is really where it gets into the culture piece. We need to train our employees well enough so that they have skills they could leave, but we need to teach our managers to treat our employees so well that the employees will not leave. Again, you may feel like this is beyond the role of a trainer, but I ultimately judge how good a training program is by how good my guest experience is. So I use incentives and rewards as a second step in the training program to ultimately change the guest experience. As an example, we talk about selling in probably almost every brand, whether it's suggestive selling or upselling, whatever it is. As an example, we created a suggestive selling training program in our company. Get the typical results. So we ended up putting in what we call the fraction of the action. We gave them 10% of any large order that they brought to us. This is Sarah. Sarah has a check in her hand for $295. I'm a cheap franchisee, so it's a dry erase check, so I can use it again and wipe it clean. But Sarah went out and got us a catering order for $2,950, and she got a check for $295, and she's received subsequent checks since then. This may be something that requires approval by people in your organization, but if your job is to boost sales, here's a simple way to do this. Put in a fraction of the action program. Whether it's upselling for the bartender, the server, the cashier, or your drive-through, it works anywhere. We had, in our case, we were trying to move catering sales, so we put together strategically, we're trying to build sales, we're trying to build it through catering, let's enlist the help of our employees versus spending money on advertising. Ultimately, she benefits because she gets more money, the guest benefits because they get our food in their mouth, and we benefit as the business owner because we boosted sales. So this is how a simple training person thinking about how we can align with ops by adding a little incentive works. The other thing that we do, and this is a far simpler, less costly thing, is we just give our managers what are called smart cards. All it is, this is our company name for our franchise group. All it is a business card with our logo on it. It's worth 25 cents. Every store gets 300 cards a month. So they essentially just get a $75 P&L hit to employee benefits, and the managers use these cards to reward above and beyond behaviors. And they're all worth a quarter. They may give somebody 5 cards or 10 cards if it warrants it, but they use them to reinforce suggestive selling. They use them to reinforce cost reduction. They use it to reinforce great guest service when we see somebody's name mentioned in the survey. So this is kind of our currency that the managers use to reinforce the desired behaviors that we as trainers and we as operators are trying to achieve to drive our business forward, and in our case, make the guests say, wow. It's a great way to cap how much this costs. I will tell you that if they don't use these for above and beyond behaviors and they use them to bribe people to come in uniform and come in on time, that's not an effective use of the incentive. That's a management problem that we have, not an employee problem. So there are, some inherent caveats into this that you need to be aware of. But this has been, again, a great tool to get our managers to start thinking about catching people doing things right. because the employees want the smart card. So, we're trying to treat them well enough that they don't leave. This is one we learned from PALS. This works in full service for an expediter. It works in quick service, whether it's a bagger at a drive-thru or an expediter as well. But they have a Gator program. Get all the orders right. Every hour they make no mistakes. No food goes over their cook time. No plate presentation is improper. They have $1 go into essentially like tip jar. They divide it up at the end of the week based on the percentage of the hours worked. So if there's $50 in there and I work 20% of the hours as a staff member, I'd get 20% of the $50. I'd get $10. This promotes teamwork, and this also rewards the individual that works more and works harder because they get a bigger percentage of the pot that's left at the end of the week. PAL's record, 42 hours in a row, no mistakes. When you think about how effective their training program is with a program like this, that's when you ultimately know you got it as a trainer. So this is another example of how you can tie incentives in to reinforce what we're trying to do strategically, executing our systems, and rewarding the employees. This one I just threw in because everybody always asks me what to do in the back of the house. How do we reward kitchen employees who don't have a lot of time to really kind of work on the financial side for sales, and how do we do those kind of things? Just take day dots, put them all over your kitchen. Hard to see spots. Number them 1 to 100. It's kind of like an Easter egg hunt. Find the dot, clean the spot, bring me the day dot to the manager. Every 10 day dots you clean, you maybe get a free meal or some sort of a perk or swag or whatever it is. But you can really even treat the back of the house employees better. Ultimately, what are we doing? We're getting the cleanest kitchen we can possibly get. We're actually teaching our employees to think and look for things that they wouldn't be looking for, because typically these dots are kind of in the out-of-the-way places that nobody looks for. But the ultimate beneficiary is we're training our employees to do a better job, to keep our kitchen cleaner, to serve food as safe as we can serve it in a clean environment. So even these incentives can go into the back of the house. And again, I could spend hours on talking about employee incentives. So if you need to get with me offline, just shoot me an email and we'll talk about that. The thing that I would stress as we wrap up here and open it up for questions is this. Charles Barkley, former NBA player, TNT basketball announcer, said this at the slam dunk contest a couple of years ago. Gatorade doesn't help people that suck. And if you think about what I've really talked about today, we have to have good hires. Because when we give them the Gatorade, which is our training program and our incentive program, Gatorade doesn't help people that suck. Training doesn't help people that suck. Training and incentives don't help those kind of folks. We have to have a clear path with where we want to go strategically. You as a trainer need to build systems in place so ordinary people can deliver extraordinary service. Help your teams hire better. Help your teams train better. And I'm talking every day, flashcards, QR codes, simple things that they can do to reinforce the behaviors you want to see, and then come back in finally with the incentive piece behind it so that you can ultimately provide the best guest experience, and your CEO and your COO can look to you as the person that really was the torchbearer that got this thing going. So at this point, I will open it up for questions. I guess, Tara, maybe you can help me. Are we going to kind of run this through you or open it up, or people going to type this in?
I will try a couple of things first. There's something on here where you can raise your hand, and then I can take you off of mute so you can ask the question. I do have one person that has their hand raised, but it was up there for a little while, so I'm not sure if she still has a question. But I'll start with a Tracy. Everyone else, if I understand, we're trying to keep these to 45 minutes, so feel free to drop off if you need to. But anyone who's interested in Q&A just can hang on, and if you have a question, you can raise your hand, and then I will, if I don't see any more hands raised, I will take everyone off mute so you can talk, and we'll see if that works. So Tracy, if you still have a question, I'm taking you off of mute right now. Tracy, are you there? And did you have a question? Okay, so I'll put that one back on mute. If anyone else has a question, I don't see any other hands raised, but I'm not sure if everyone knows how to use the system or can use the system. I'm going to take everyone off of mute right now. Okay, it is not letting me take everyone off of mute. All right, it is not allowing me to take everyone off mute. So the only thing I can do is say if anyone has any questions. All right, I have Catherine with a question. I'm going to take you off mute. Catherine, you're free to ask your question.
Hi, Tara and TJ. I do have a question for you. I like the QR code idea for training where it links into videos. What does that create as far as them using their cell phones? We don't allow them to carry their cell phones in the building because they've created so many problems.
My suggestion, if your company doesn't allow the employees to use cell phones, is if you can at least let the manager use the cell phone to have, or an iPad or whatever it is, to show the video clip at a pre-shift meeting. That would be my suggestion. Or if there's a way you can, kind of get them into the back of the house so that they're not in customer view, because I understand that doesn't really look good from a customer standpoint when somebody's looking at the video on the phone. They don't know they're going through training. So, if you can pull them into the back of the house and you're allowed to use cell phones back there, it's an incredibly effective tool for this generation to learn. It's short, it's content specific, it's on point. Ideally, it's in the workstation. So I think if you can try and figure out how you can get around your policy of no cell phones out there. A lot of companies, their POSs are on tablets now. You can actually load it onto your register system versus using a QR code. So I think there's a few ways around it to get them to actually access the videos. And again, we can probably talk offline about that as well with your specific situation.